Materials within Vizrt are a way to give your objects or fonts color. And there are a couple of things that you'll want to know about the materials. So let's start by dragging a 3D object or a 2D object up into our scene tree here. And you can see within my server panel, I have my one folder highlighted here and I have my M tab active. The M tab stands for materials, and within it we have all of our materials. Furthermore, I have a separate folder that I built out down here that I organized into other materials. So here I have mine separated out into blues, brights, duls, greens, and you can find them fairly quickly if you need to. So the way that this works is that you just come in and you choose a material and you can slide it onto the geometry or font or whichever container you need it onto. And if you want to get rid of that material from a particular container, you can just drag the icon and drag that to the trash. Now there is no material there. If you want to create a material from scratch, you can just come into your M tab window here, right click, and there is a create a new material tab. So we can give it a name if you know what name you're going to make it. So if we want to make a purple material here, we can give it the name purple. Now when we hit OK, it creates it white by default. So that means we need to double click on it to go into the material editor. Once we're in the material editor, we have 4 color bases here that we need to concern ourselves with. So we have an ambient, we have a diffuse, we have a specular, and emission. Each one of these will affect the overall color. By default, it's set to diffuse when you come into the material editor. And what you need to do is just come down here and adjust your colors here and choose the color that you want. So if we want to try for purple, we can make it that way. Now we can further adjust it by adjusting the ambience around it. So we can add some highlight color here. You can see our icon adjusts as we adjust these colors here. We can also add some specular highlights. So if you want to make a little bit more brighter in certain spots, we can do that. There's also an emission here that we can add as well. Below those 4 tabs, there's a shininess and there's also an alpha. So you can make your material transparent as well. Now, if you don't want to work in RGB, there's also an HSV value, which you can change here as well and make further adjustments. There is a color picker as well. So if you want to click on the color picker, you can roll it around the screen here and choose another color that you want. Now let's say I like this purple and I want to save it. All I have to do is hit the save button here, or you could do a save as and call it a new name if you want. Once you're done with that, you can hit close, and here you can see that new material that we made. So if we drag this material up onto this cube now, it colors the cube. If we want to further manipulate this color, we can double click on it and it will open the material editor over here in the properties window. And again, we can come over and start choosing our different colors here to affect it. And you can see that in this properties window, it looks a little bit different than our materials editor window. So within this window, you do get your hue, saturation, and value level down here as well. You also have a hex and a pick option, so you can enter the hex number if you need to as well. Now let's say we wanted to change this entire material to green, and we could come up and change each color here to give it a green color. You can now see that it changed it in the scene editor window. It also changed it over here on this icon, but it did not change this purple one, which we started out with. If you did want to save this green one, you could just slide this down into your server window M tab and then give it a name. So we could type in green, and now that green is saved. Also, when we have a color like this that has shading, when we rotate an object, it will pick up that shading. So here you can see as we rotate this cube and we have a material on it with the shading active, how it picks it up. If you want to get rid of the shading at any time on a material but leave the material active, you can click this little button right next to the properties window, and now that gets rid of the shaded material and just makes a flat material. If you want to copy a material, just hold down the control button, click and drag, and then it will prompt you to give it a new name, and you can give it whatever name you want, and then here is that new material saved into our server database.